everyone, it's Alana from Kids Read to Kids, and we are on Chapter 10 of Read All About It, Kit Kittredge's story. So, let's get started. Chapter 10, The Bright Red Dress. That night, after the last dinner dish was washed and dried, Mother took off her apron, put on her hat and coat, and went out. She didn't say where she was going, but Kit knew. Mother was paying a visit to Uncle Hendrik, who lived alone in a big, gloomy house near downtown Cincinnati. Kit knew Mother was going to ask Uncle Hendrik for money so that they wouldn't be evicted. Kit was reading in bed when Mother returned. When she came up to kiss Kit goodnight, Kit could see that her mother's face was tired. Uncle Hendrik said no, didn't he? Said Kit. Mother was surprised. How did, she began. I heard Mr. Smithens talking to you and Dad, Kit said in her straightforward way. I know about us being evicted. I figured you went to Uncle Hendrik to ask for money, and... Kit repeated, he said no, didn't he? I'm sorry, Kit, Mother said sadly. It's not fair for a child to have to worry about such things. She sighed. But you're right. Uncle Hendrik believes that money must be earned by hard work, not given away. He says that if we are evicted, he wants us to move in with him. Kit sat bolt upright. Oh no, she said. We'd hate that. All the boarders would leave. It'd be awful. Mother smiled a sad smile. We may not have a choice, she said, and we may lose the boarders anyway. At this point, we don't have enough money to pay even the electric bill. We can't ask the boarders to stay if our electricity is cut off and we don't have any lights. Kit couldn't bear to see Mother look so defeated. I'll help, she said. I promise I'll find a way to make money. Well, said Mother, there is a way you can help, though I don't think it'll make any money. Uncle Hendrik says he's ill. I think he's just really lonely and fretful, but he wants me to come back tomorrow and every day until he feels better. I'm so busy here, I don't see how I can. Would you do it? You'd start tomorrow, and next week you could go after school. During Christmas vacation, you could stay for a few hours every day. You need someone to keep him company and do errands and walk his dog. Kit's heart sank. Uncle Hendrik's old black Scotty dog, Inky, was the meanest, most hateful dog in Cincinnati. He was even meaner than Uncle Hendrik. And Uncle Hendrik was exactly like mean, miserly Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol before the ghosts visited him and scared him into being nice. I know it's a lot to ask, said Mother, but it would be a great help to me. I'll do it, said Kit. This was her chance to help. Mother hugged Kit. That's my girl, she said. And now her smile was real. Thank you. Uncle Hendrik knows we don't have a car anymore. He gave me a nickel for the streetcar. I'll give it to you tomorrow. Now don't read too long. You need to rest. Good night. Good night, said Kit. The first bad thing that happened when Kit set forth to visit Uncle Hendrik was that she missed the streetcar. She had to run all the way to Uncle Hendrik's house because she was supposed to be there promptly at noon, and Uncle Hendrik was a stickler for time. Luckily, Kit was a fast runner. But it was very cold, and Kit's nose was red and her hair was blown every which way by the time she got to Uncle Hendrik's door. She tried to catch her breath and straighten herself up a little, but Inky was barking wildly and scrabbling his claws against the other side of the door, so Uncle Hendrik opened it before she even knocked. That was the next bad thing. What are you doing here? He bellowed over Inky's yapping. Mother's too busy, Kit bellowed back. I'm here instead. I don't want you, said Uncle Hendrik. Go away. Inky growled as if to echo Uncle Hendrik, and then launched into another frenzy of barking. Kit didn't budge. She'd promised Mother that she would help. It would take more than Uncle Hendrik's bluster and Inky's snarls to discourage her. Well, you're here, so you might as well stay, said Uncle Hendrik. Hurry up. Don't stand there like a fool and let the heat out. It costs good money. Kit stepped inside and he shut the door behind her, saying, Come with me. Yes, sir, said Kit. Now that the door was shut, she realized how dark it was inside Uncle Hendrik's house. The darkness seemed old somehow and permanent, as if it had been there a long time and always would be there. Kit followed Uncle Hendrik and Inky upstairs to Uncle Hendrik's huge room. He sat down in the most comfortable chair by the coal fire and put a blanket over his knees. Inky jumped up into the other chair by the fire. He watched Kit's every move with his sharp, unfriendly black eyes. Kit went to Uncle Hendrik to give him the nickel she hadn't used. This is the nickel you gave Mother for the streetcar, said Kit. I missed the streetcar, so I don't care if you came on a winged chariot, Uncle Hendrik said, impatiently pushing her hand away. You got here on time. That's all that matters. You mean I can keep the nickel? asked Kit. Yes, barked Uncle Hendrik, sounding a lot like Inky. Now stop jabbering. Hand me my book. Not the red one, the brown one. And how am I supposed to read it? Hand me my eyeglasses too and be quick about it. It seemed to Kit that, for an old man who was supposed to be sick, Uncle Hendrik certainly had plenty of energy for bossing her around and pointing out what she was doing wrong, which was everything. She filled his teacup too full and sloshed tea into the saucer. She wobbled the spoon when she poured his medicine into it. She pulled too hard on the cord that closed the drapes, but didn't push hard enough when moving his chair. She talked too fast and walked too slow. There was no pleasing Uncle Hendrik. Inky was just as bad. When it was time for his walk, Kit put her coat on. She clipped Inky's leash onto his collar. Come, Inky, she said. Inky didn't move. You'll have to carry him, said Uncle Hendrik. He doesn't like walking down the stairs. Kit hoisted the fat old dog up in her arms and carried him down the stairs and out the door. Once his feet hit the sidewalk, Inky took off. He strained on the leash, practically pulling Kit's arm out of its socket. When they got to the park, Inky sat down on the grass and refused to move. Kit had to drag Inky back to Uncle Hendrik's house and carry him upstairs. You, Kit hissed as she set him down, are a horrible dog. Inky's black eyes glittered. He looked pleased with himself. He jumped into his chair and promptly went to sleep. Uncle Hendrik was asleep too, so Kit had to sit perfectly still and wait for him to wake up. She amused herself by thinking of words to describe Uncle Hendrik and Inky. They're both grouchy and grumpy, she thought. They're crabby, cranky, critical, and cross. When at last Uncle Hendrik woke up, he announced that it was time for Kit to go home. Kit put on her coat, which was now covered with Inky's black hair. Goodbye, she said to Uncle Hendrik. I'll see you tomorrow. Humph, said Uncle Hendrik. He didn't sound pleased or displeased. He reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 nickels. Here, he said, 1 for the streetcar home and 1 for the streetcar here tomorrow. Take them and go. So Kit did. When she closed the door behind her, Kit took a deep breath. The cold, clean winter air felt wonderful on her cheeks. It cleared the stuffy, medicine-y, doggy smell of Uncle Hendrik's house out of her nose. As Kit walked to the streetcar stop, she had an idea. I'll walk home, she thought. Uncle Hendrik said he didn't care if I use the nickels for the streetcars or not. I won't use them. I'll save them and give them to Mother to help pay the electric bill. That will be my Christmas surprise for her. The thought cheered Kit, and she turned up her collar and started the long walk home with determined steps. But it was awfully cold, and the walk was all uphill. By the time Kit got to her house, she was tired and cold to the bone. She was hungry, too. It was disheartening to know she had missed Sunday dinner and there'd only be crackers and milk for supper. When Kit opened the front door, she was surprised to see Ruthie sitting on the bottom step in the front hall. Ruthie had a big white box on her lap. Her face was bright and eager. She looked as if she was struggling to hold the surprise inside and was about to burst. Hi, she said to Kit. I thought you'd never get here. She jumped up from the stair and thrust the big white box at Kit. Here, she said. This is for you. Ruthie was so excited she danced around Kit impatiently as Kit knelt down to open the box. Wait till you see, she said. Now everything will be okay. Kit lifted the lid of the box. Inside was a bright red dress. She took it out, puzzled. But this is your dress, Ruthie, she said at last. It was, said Ruthie. It's my last year's Christmas dress. It doesn't fit me anymore. I'm getting a new one, so I'm giving this one to you. The bright red dress was so red, it seemed to make Kit's hands warm just to hold it. Kit felt her face get warm too, but the heat came from the burning sting of embarrassment. She was humiliated, not delighted by Ruthie's hand-me-down present. Now Ruthie thinks of me as a poor, pitiful beggar girl, she thought. Kit swallowed. Thanks, she managed to say politely. She tried very hard to smile. That's not all, Ruthie burbled. Look in the pocket. Kit reached into the pocket of the dress and pulled out 4 tickets to the ballet. There was also an invitation in Ruthie's handwriting that said, Mrs. Smithens and Ruthie Smithens cordially invite Mrs. Kittredge and Kit Kittredge to a fancy tea at Shalito's restaurant on December 26th after the ballet. See, Ruthie said, all aglow. My mother bought the tickets and she'll pay for the tea. Now we can have our special day, and you won't have to wear your rick-rack dress. Slowly, Kit slid the invitation and the tickets back into the pocket. She folded the dress carefully and put the lid back on the box. She stood up. Thank you, Ruthie, she said stiffly, but your dress is probably too big for me. And my mother and I are going to be busy on December 26th. She handed the big white box to Ruthie. Ruthie looked at the box and then at Kit. What do you mean? She asked. I have a job now, said Kit, at my Uncle Hendrik's house. But you could take a day off, said Ruthie. You could no, said Kit coolly. I couldn't. It's my responsibility. Ruthie's face looked so sad that Kit softened a bit. Listen, she said. I know you're just trying to be nice and generous, Ruthie. But don't you see? I can't wear your old dress. But my mother fixed it for you, said Ruthie. And I thought you were embarrassed by the rick-rack dress. I thought you hated it. I do hate it, said Kit, but at least it's my own. I'd be embarrassed to wear your dress. And it's the same with the tickets and the tea. It would make my mother and me feel like sponges. We'd be ashamed to let your mother pay for us. Ashamed? Said Ruthie, pink in the face and mad. I think you should be ashamed of being so selfish. You're only thinking of yourself. What about me? Did you ever stop to think that maybe you're ruining my Christmas with your stupid pride? You've got a house full of people, and I'm all alone with just my mother and father. The most fun I ever have is with you. The day you and I spend together after Christmas is the very best part of Christmas for me. I thought you liked it too. That's why my mother and I tried to fix it this year, but you're too stuck up and stubborn to accept it. We were just trying to help. I don't want help, said Kit, bristling. Oh, I know, said Ruthie. You think you're just like great old Amelia Earhart, flying all by herself without help from anybody. Now Kit was mad too. At least I'm not so babyish that I think I'm a princess like you do, she said. You're always talking about wishes and wicked ogres and make-believe. You don't know anything that's real. Your father still has his job. You can do whatever you want. You have everything, except you don't have any idea what the world is really like. Well, now I know what you are really like, said Ruthie. Mean. Well, you're spoiled, said Kit. Oh, exclaimed Ruthie angrily. She grabbed her coat and went to the door. I don't think we can be friends anymore. Good, said Kit. Goodbye, said Ruthie. Then she left, closing the door firmly behind her. Kit stared at the door for a second, and then turned and ran as fast as she could up the stairs to her room. She flung herself face down on her bed. Oh, oh, oh! How could everything be so horrible? It wasn't fair. Her family had lost so much since Dad has lost his job. Not just money. They lost their feeling of being safe, their trust that things would work out for the best. They were probably going to lose their home. And now I've lost the most important thing at all, thought Kit. My best friend. Kit buried her face in her pillow and cried. It's a sad way to end our chapter 10. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please head to the next video to keep reading chapter 11. Only 12 chapters in the book, so we're almost done. Head to kidsreadtokids.com for the lesson plan for this book and for our resources. Happy reading!